Here go Andrew. I'm ready. Let's go.
Andrew's gonna get a whooping live on air.
Cut it. Production cameras, everybody out.
I'm gonna get in so much trouble with paparazzi.
Iran is saying, "Nuck if you buck."
Countries are going bombing each other.
I'm so sick of this narrative.
Some people are afraid of the mostly white feminist mafia.
We're freaking consistent as Black women.
Black power starts with Black women.
It's our responsibility to question our leaders.
This is America leadership at its worst.
The world's on fire. Are you moving or are you resting?
I'm gonna make them what they are, the White Walkers.
White folks, please tune in.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media.
Welcome.
Welcome home, y'all. This is episode 84. Good grief. 84 of Native Land Pod, where we give it to you straight, no chaser, and get into all things politics with a little bit of culture. I am your host, Tiffany Cross, along with my fellow co-host, Gone With It host, Angela Rye and Andrew Gillum. What's up, y'all?
It's like I like this.
Hey,
I'm
Tiff.
your host, Tiffany, and my
That's
guest for
right.
today.
That's right.
I
It's
love
her day.
it. Get it,
She reclaiming her
sis.
time.
Get it.
It'll be your time next week.
Co-host? Yeah. Well, we all
What's up,
are
y'all?
the hosts.
I'm the main host, and here's my co-host.
Go on and get it.
Y'all, if y'all know the joke, y'all know the joke.
Andrew, where are you?
I'm sitting comfortably
What
in
is
somebody's chair inside their hotel. Actually, you know what? I'm at a funeral convention. We are supposed to
Are
be
you
on our
really?
way.
Oh.
I called my
Oh,
best
this
friend
makes
the other
sense.
day and said,
yeah,
when was
okay,
the
that
last
does
time
make
we took a road trip? We got to head down to West Palm Beach for these Board of Governors meeting where they're considering the next president of FAMU along with two other universities. And of course, he had to answer a call at about 4 this morning, pick up a body. That body then delayed our departure, which got us a little late on the road to South Florida. So we made a pit stop in Central Florida, which is where I am right now. And we're still
the
trying to
body
make
in
it
the
to
room
South
with
Florida.
you?
No, the body is with the people who, gonna dress the body.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that answer. But thank you.
I know. But guess what? When you're 40, pushing 50, road trips just don't, they don't take the
Gotta
same
run
anymore,
errands.
guys.
Let me go get this
Right.
body real quick.
No, I gotta go to the bathroom. Can you pull over?
Can you
definitely
stop? I
gotta
need to
do
pick
that.
up.
You guys, I'm
My
gonna tell you
back
something.
hurting.
I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna get in so much trouble with paparazzi.
What did Paparazzi do?
You bring a bag.
You guys, my dad. I can't tell you. I'm gonna get
Yeah, he's got
You
a
got to
bag.
tell us something now
He's got a
because you
bag.
brought it up.
You guys,
We're not going to
you
edit
know,
out the show.
you know, I love the Just Waters. You always got to shop and buy black. I love Just Waters. My dad saves the containers because sometimes when he takes his blood pressure medicine, he's got to pee. So he pees in the container. I was like,
Hey.
Dad, you can't see through these, so please make sure you throw them out because when somebody drinks.
Oh
Every
my
man
God.
knows it. Every man knows it.
Oh, he's
That's
gonna
inconvenient.
kill
We don't
me.
have that option.
You guys
We don't
edit
have
this
that
out the
option.
show. I'm gonna get in so much.
Don't edit it out.
I will know because
Your
I want
dad's
to
in
see
good
Andrew get a
company.
whooping.
I'm
Andrew
gonna
about
be
to get a
in so
whooping.
much trouble, Tiff. Oh my God. I just thought
Andrew
of
was
it.
going to get a whooping live on air.
It's wild.
Remember in
I know.
elementary school, people's parents would come up to the school. And
Yes.
that was abuse and trauma.
Yes.
But you would
It
see
is
them like get
traumatizing.
beat in front of the
He
class.
did
That's
whip
what's
me
about to
one
happen
time
next week on Native
Christmas,
Land
which
Pod.
was traumatizing. He whipped me on Christmas when I was
If
3.
he did, Angela's parents spoil her dad especially. So if he did, don't feel bad. She was asking for it for
At 3
paparazzi.
years old on Christmas, I was just
Oh,
excited. That's me.
Oh,
He
yeah.
broke
Doing
my
too
heart
much.
that day.
You're doing
He broke
too
my
much,
heart
friend.
that day. That was the first and last
Oh.
whooping. He cried harder than I did. So we
I
did
broke
fine.
my
Well, we
son's
forgive
heart
him.
this week because I
You
showed
did.
up late to pick him up, Jackson, my oldest, from his speed and agility camp. I got there probably 20 minutes late. He got in the car,
Andrew,
said,
come
Jackson,
closer
how
to the
was
mic,
it?
friend.
I'm sorry. I'm in
Yes,
conversation.
Andrew.
I'm in a living
I know
room
you
You
here,
sound like a
guys.
ghost. The spirit
Uh,
of that body in the background.
Girl, shut up. But no, I get him in the car. I'm like, man, how was the speed and agility camp? And he's like, fine. I said, Jackson, are you mad with me? I'm mad with you. And I said, Jackson, I'm so sorry I was late. I'm so sorry I was late. I'll try not to do that again. I mean, Cat was in the backseat like this the whole time. And then he started crying. Felt really bad. Like, I was like, did you think I was going to leave you here? You know,
My God.
That is terrible.
11-year-olds, guys, 11-year-olds.
Tell
Yeah.
nephew that next time I'm going to come get him myself because I don't know what you
No.
out here doing.
Mm-hmm. And
Well,
based off
Andrew,
the way you
you're-
run,
Basically, then you know that I'm going to come through. I'm going to run right through Tallahassee and get my nephew so you don't leave him.
Well, I missed the show, so this is a very belated Happy Father's Day to you, Andrew. And I love the stories that you share about being such a great father, and it's just an example that Black dads matter. So shout out to all the fathers, no matter what you look like. But a special shout out to our brothers, our Black fathers out there raising wonderful Black men and Black children. You say Black children. Yeah. Don't want to over-adulterize our children, Black boys and Black girls.
God knows society does it quicker than we're ready.
Right, exactly. Listen, we're about to get into the show, but I know that we have a very loyal audience out there. So for all the people, it seems like lately I've been meeting so many people who stop me and say, I love Native Land. So I want to thank you guys for showing us love in the streets.
I get stopped for
and
you
would love for you all. Well, thank you. We would love for you all to spread the word. Want to make sure that you are telling your friends to tune in, tell your friends to subscribe, friends and family, leave us a rating. Just tell people about Native Land, because the more that y'all tune in and the more y'all talk about us, the more work that we can do. And I want to send a special shout out and thank you to all of you who send in your viewer questions. And just a real quick point of clarity, we consider y'all family. So if we make some offhanded comment or we don't agree, it is all in love. If we say something that y'all don't agree with, if we respond to a question and you didn't like the way we responded, send in another video. Like, we want this to be
or we roast your video.
Yeah, we are never saying anything to intentionally put somebody down. So if that's ever been taken that way, I definitely want to apologize. But we love having conversation with you all in person and on video. So thank you guys for all of that. All right, Angela, Andrew, what y'all got today?
Well, I have a complaint. My complaint is Tiffany is going to be in Baltimore with our people, Andrew, and you're not here because you decided to take a road trip. And I just have beef.
I ain't out here playing in the streets now.
You kind of playing in the streets. Well, okay, so then maybe my beef is not with you, it's with FAMU. So I will say that.
It's with Ron DeSantis and his Republican sycophants.
Yes.
Trying to, take everybody out, y'all. It's not a joke. It's true.
It's not a joke. I'm very upset. I want my brother to be here with us. We are doing the State of the People National Assembly in Baltimore. A lot of people have RSVP'd. I'm starting to wonder if they're coming for that free fish fry we doing on Juneteenth tomorrow. But we have our people coming through, and Andrew's not going to be here. So I'm tight about it. And
big, huge ups to you, Angela, who through your force of nature have just made possible what I think many thought was impossible.
Thank you. It's not just me, but thank you very much.
I know.
I have something to say about that, but Andrew, before I get to it, tell us what you got.
Well, y'all, I was going to dive in a little bit to what's happening down here in Florida because I know that it reverberates, not because it's FAMU, but because these circumstances where our legacy presidents at our legacy HBCUs are coming up for retirement or are transitioning on, and some of them are being forced on by the politics of the day. And it's no different here in Florida, no different than what we're seeing in Tennessee and in other places. But I'm going to switch it up real quick, Angela and Tiff, and just say this weekend, regardless of all of the intimidation that the Trump administration was trying to scare people into staying home, we had a sheriff in Florida say, we will kill y'all if you come out here and protest, right? People showed up all over this country, y'all, gave me goosebumps that they were like, bring it, we're here. There are no kings on this land.
We have two amazing guests joining us. Cornell Belcher is a social scientist pollster. He was the pollster for both of Obama's elections in 2008 and 2012. And he runs a polling company called Brilliant Corners. And he was also one of Andrew's pollsters, which I did not even realize. And he will be joined by another guest who I think Lauren, our EP, put on our radar. And then Angela had the idea to have them both join us. Do you want to tell us about the other guest, Angela?
Yes, Tiff, we're really excited. I know Cornell Belcher better, just like you, but Gabrielle Wyatt will also join us. They are coming from the Highland Project, and they conducted a poll of Black women voters in America this past spring. So we're thrilled to have them and to talk about what they found out.
What I want to talk about is a scary topic, quite frankly, and that is that we appear to be on the precipice of a potential nuclear war. Nations with nuclear power are at odds right now. Israel is a nuclear power. They don't like to acknowledge it, but they are. The United States is a nuclear power. We've been pulled into a war with Iran, who is a potential nuclear power. So I want to explore that. Yeah. But before we get into the show, I wanted to pick back up on what Angela said about the tour and what you said, Andrew. And I've been having trouble getting my words together, trying to say what I want to say. Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? But that's okay because somebody else said it better than I could. So let's hear from her.
What you are doing with this tour, what the leaders here have been doing with this tour, is absolutely about giving life to those concepts that we were raised with, including self-determination, the importance of understanding one's power and empowering community at the same time. So I congratulate you in front of all the friends and to everybody here. I thank you.
Okay, I'm mad because the only video I could get my hands on, the beginning was cut off. But what Madam Vice President Kamala Harris said at the beginning of that video is, this is her quote directly, I want to shout out Angela Rye. And then you hear the rest of the video. But what she said was, that's my sister right there. And then she started talking about the importance of the tour. So it was great being in LA because we got to see Madam Vice President and she got to address the community. But I just thought it was important to play that clip, one, to just, I know it's a team of people. I've been on emails with the people. They reach out to me. So I know it's more people than Angela. But Angela, I know that this tour meant a lot to you and you put in a lot of work. And I also thought it is important for our viewers to hear that because I, of course, address Madam Vice President as Madam Vice President. Sometimes I will say Kamala, but that is because there's a relationship there. And I wanted you all to hear that from her. She calls Angela her sister. So when you hear her say Kamala is not an act of disrespect, it's because they know each other. And to show that movements start from the bottom up and they can rise and reach people all over. So no matter where you are in your journey, maybe you weren't a part of the State of the People tour, maybe you're doing amazing work in your own community. I just commend all the leaders for all the work that you're doing. Angela is very resistant to praise and compliments. Even at the agenda when the vice president tried to thank her, she immediately deflected and started talking about other people. So I was like, Nick, don't tell her to sound I'm playing, because I wanted you to just get your flowers as we convene and kick off the national convening in Baltimore. We will miss you, Brother Andrew, but like you are on your own mission. That's very important work to you. So I commend you as well. And I hope this inspires people. You know, we've all been on our own journeys and we've been very unfiltered about that with you all, our audience, who we care so much for. So just congratulations, Angela, as the national convening is about to commence. In any words, what's next after this tour?
That's the question. It's funny because you finish one chapter and you know that the story is not written, because even as we come to Baltimore now, I wish the sound that I should have sent when you asked me earlier if I had any and I didn't. There was an altercation in Baltimore streets with law enforcement just over the last couple of days, and somebody was killed. And so the thing that we keep seeing in every city that we're in is that we're supposed to be there, that it is divine timing, that there is a place for our people to gather, to organize, to coalesce, to collaborate. And I'm so thankful because it really, when I tell y'all, if I need to know like, oh, how big does this sign need to be? Who can do the artwork? Who can update a website? Who can speak on a panel about veterans and the role of the military right now? Who can do tabletop exercises so we know what happens if the water supply is cut off or our cell phone towers are down? Those are all things I cannot do. So that means there are people that are doing them. What I'm grateful for is the ignorant courage that says that we can pull all of this off with no real planning time. And I'm very thankful for the people who went along for that ride by faith, took one step in front of the other and went by faith. So I'm really, really grateful. I love that Tiff brought up our Madam Vice President, because it is a reminder that even with relationship, especially in an era where we're so blatantly disrespected, that respect should start at home. So I do appreciate that nudge always. And
Love that.
and shout out to our sister, the MVP, because I don't know what these other people's doing. You gonna talk about that too?
But also, Angela, I mean, we have criticism for her as well. But I thought the audience should know that, like, yes, if we say we didn't like what Kamala did when this happened, none of that is intended disrespect. Where it's our right. For now, we have that right in this country, and it's our responsibility to question our leaders, but it is all done from a place of love. Just like when y'all criticize us, that's why I can receive it, because it comes from a place of love. We love y'all, y'all
have
love
those
us.
conversations with her directly. You know, it's like, oh, I disagree with this. Have you thought about this approach? You know, so I definitely know that. I wish that we had a clip like this when we first started the show, because people really didn't get it. I remember there was somebody, I can't remember who, but somebody posted a clip saying that we were mad because we didn't get invited to the Christmas party.
It's always
and the truth of it was we opted not to go as a collective. Our group of girlfriends opted not to go as a collective to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people. So anyway, we love you.
Yeah.
One of the things that you raise so bravely and consistently for us is this sort of, what do you do? How do you just get started? And Angela, I just want to say, you exhibited live and in real time that you just have to take a step. You just have to take a step, and you never know what kind of squad is lined up behind you. Maybe not to do all the things you want everybody to do, but they're there to do something. They're there to plug in. So I just want to just underscore that mark that it takes a step. Do something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plenty of people are out there doing something,
right?
And not everybody's in it. You know, when I hear people have aspirations, I have to remind them, Angela never got into this game to be on TV, to get a bunch of IG followers. You know, Angela was a staffer on the Hill. People used to tell me that about Jamal Simmons. Like I want to be like Jamal Simmons years ago. And Jamal Simmons didn't get in this game for that. You know, Jamal Simmons worked on about 1,000 Who Gives a Crap campaigns across the places you never heard of. He would work on that. So when you honor the work, and are not into hashtag celebrity and hashtag activism, that's where our collective focus should be. So congratulations. I will see you all in Baltimore this week. We're looking forward to it. And a lot of our friends are flying in from all over the country, so it should be a good time, and definitely want to honor the life that was lost in the streets of Baltimore. And on it, this is a good example. We were being lighthearted about the body that is in Andrew's room right now, but I do want to honor that person lost a life and give love to that family.
They're not in the room with me. That was a couple of cities back.
Okay.
Y'all done already dropped the body off.
No,
the cycle of life.
Listen, y'all,
I'm just trying to honor the cycle of life.
Real quick, though, I just think I don't want to let this moment pass without also, you said something, Tiff, when you said this whole hashtag celebrity thing. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten so much frustration with so many different, quote unquote, elected leaders, quote, leaders who think because they put a post on their social that in some way, how that means they moved the earth. They're not knocking on doors, not bringing nobody in, and they're afraid of their own shadow. I just want to thank those folks like Keith Ellison, and again, our sorrows go out to the families impacted in Minnesota by the ratcheting up of this rhetoric. But for getting out there, saying what needs to be said, and we have to stop cowering. I have more people asking me, well, Andrew, if you know this board is going to choose the candidate we don't want, when do we start to just sort of bring it together? You know, bring her in. I said, can we at least follow through the whole protest? Our demands have not been made. It is not the obligation of those who are being trampled upon to then go and say, hey, I know you hurt me and you didn't have to kick me like you did, but are we going to be okay? Yeah. I just want to make sure all this, no. So if she's selected president at these other institutions, if the leader that you don't want to select it, the onus is on them to help bring that divide. The politeness, the whole, I'm courageous because I sent a tweet, but you're not doing anything in follow up. Y'all, times, if you haven't noticed, it's quitting time for all of that.
That might be a good mini pod.
Let's go.
Leadership styles, because there are different leadership styles and not everybody needs to lead all the time. Do you have what it takes to lead? But also, do you have what it takes to follow? And that is something. Do you have that ego check that you need to follow?
I like that.
So maybe we'll get into that on the mini pod. And just so our viewers know, you referenced Keith Ellison. He was, of course, a former member of the Congressional Black Caucus, and he is now the Attorney General of Minnesota. And as you all know, we had political violence. Sadly, I don't think it'll be the last that we'll see. We had political violence with the loss of the former State House Speaker in Minnesota and her husband, and another Democratic elected official and his wife. They were shot, but they both survived. They were in the hospital
times.
Still, 14 times.
Incredible.
So, speaking of violence, I want to talk ever so briefly about this war that it seems like the United States is itching to get in. Congress is trying to stop this because the United States Constitution grants the right to declare war to Congress, not to presidents. However, the president is the commander in chief, so he can command that troops take action. And so that's why we've been at war, quote unquote, but it has not been an acknowledged war for the history books, and because Congress didn't declare it.
Or declared.
I'm really nervous about this. I'm really nervous about this. Just so folks know, and Andrew, I'm depending on you to correct me if I say something wrong here, but this is my understanding of what's happening. Israel, as you all may have recalled, proactively dropped bombs on Iran. They claim this was to stop them from being able to enrich uranium, from being able to make a nuclear weapon. And this is happening at the same time that Trump is in conversations with Iran for a new Iran nuclear deal, which I surmise, I can almost guarantee, was not going to be that different from the nuclear deal that Obama had with the Iranians, which they shit on the entire time.
Yeah.
After that, Netanyahu felt emboldened, and of course, Iran is attacked. And so Netanyahu is like that little shit-talking person that loves to do a lot of talking, but throws a stone and hides his hand. And then he comes to America like, let's go get him, guys. And this is where we are right now. And that makes me incredibly nervous for a few reasons. I was at CNN at the time during the build-up to the Iraq War, and this has very striking similarities. That was allegedly to stop Iraq from developing a nuclear weapon, but the background ambition was regime change, and we remember exactly how that turned out. It was a bloody quagmire that cost us tens of thousands of lives, changed generations. It was awful. This was on the heels of 9/11. So I guess I'm just concerned now of what this takes. The IAEA is the International Atomic Energy Agency. And so they've said that Iran has enriched their uranium 60%. It needs to be at 90% to create a nuclear weapon. Where this facility is that they're trying to bomb is buried so deep in a mountain, like Wakanda vibranium. It is deep, 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 deep levels. Israel cannot get to that mountain. And they are going to try to keep bombing. And now basically they have their hands out saying, America, now we have to go fight this war. I just got a problem with this. Netanyahu is a war criminal. This man has to be stopped. Like, he cannot keep doing this shit and then looking at us saying, okay, now y'all come get involved. Y'all send money. Y'all send lives. Because now Iran, first of all, months ago, Iran said, United States is not our enemy. And we don't know why we're their enemy. We don't have no beef with you all.
That's right.
Now Iran is saying, nuck if you buck. You keep tweeting all these things. Guess what? We're not like other nations. We will not back down. That is a terrifying thing. Most of the people in Iran do not support the regime. So when you have a regime like that that's saying, we will fuck y'all up if you try something, that's what it feels like. Just to put it in layman's terms, that's what it feels like. Cross this line if you want to. I am terrified about this. I am so terrified about this. Because they could be a cornered animal. They can either negotiate or escalate. And they could say, no, we're going to escalate. Because Israel has been killing our people. We're going to make this a religious war. I don't know. I just wanted to give the background to the audience and get y'all's thoughts about it, because I am pretty concerned that we could really see a nuclear war.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tiff, thank you for the breakdown, by the way, the detailed breakdown. I would insert one other, I would say, provocation. by Israel that preceded the mass bombing that they have undertaken of late, and that is they sent almost the CIA version in Israel, the version of the CIA in Israel. That's the best way I can put it, but otherwise clandestine organization. They sent clandestine troops into Iran the weekend prior to the negotiations beginning about that you referenced before that Trump walked away from the nation of world, from the world that included all industrialized nations, democratic nations as a part of that treaty. Those negotiations were to take place over the weekend, and prior to those negotiations taking place, Netanyahu decides to send their clandestine troops into a sovereign territory of Iran and pretty much took out, assassinated the top brass of Iranian military leadership. I mean, this was
scientists, right?
Not just the scientists, but military generals, their Air Force. I mean, these were very calculated. I got to say, probably of a sophistication level that has not been executed by another nation to this point in the world. And the reason why it hasn't been executed by another nation in the world, despite their capabilities, is that everyone knows the splatter that comes from that kind of warfare. One, when you say it's okay to go into a sovereign nation and do that, and you permit it, you also permit it for yourself. That's why sovereigns don't endorse the killing of other sovereign kings and queens, because you permit a God-given sovereign to be assassinated, you invite the same into yourself. So most nations don't carry out those kinds of operations because they don't want the same. They don't want to create a permission structure for the same thing to happen to them. So the reason why these layers are so important, in my opinion, is it shows not a response to Iran for a specific action. This is a well-calculated, well-matured. It seems to me that these are plans that have been on the bookshelves for years, if not decades, under Netanyahu and his ultra-conservative regime, that they are now, because Trump has created the permission structure by basically saying, I don't care what the hell they do to them. I don't care what, I mean, that's pretty much what he said about this part of the world. I'll end here on this topic, and that is simply to say, this is America leadership in the world at its worst. If what is happening in the Middle East doesn't do anything else to us, it should hold a mirror up to the American people to say that Trump has been asleep at the wheel. Countries are going bombing each other. India's, experiencing its aggressive tendencies. China toward the Taiwanese and the Taiwan Straits. All of these escalations.
The axis that they're forming.
Absolutely.
India, China, Russia. I mean, this is don't leave out North Korea. Like, this is a new world order.
Pushing the United States to the side.
Yeah.
We used to have to give permission for these kinds of things to take place. And I don't mean to perpetuate this sort of big papa role, but what's true is true. And that is the United States has been the global war leader and has set the global war order for the last 60 or some odd years. Now, by the way, I don't think that order has been perfect. In fact, it is filled with mistaken error. But what's happening now, the kind of chaos, y'all, Tiffany, you're right to be concerned. I'm absolutely concerned, mostly because I think Netanyahu is going to lead Donald Trump by the nose and the American people into a war, which I think will help to fracture Trump's base, who are nativists at heart. They don't want their money going overseas. They don't want their troops, their sons and daughters going overseas. And if Trump proceeds down this line, I think he's looking for trouble.
Yeah, Andrew, again, this is all very frightening to me to see what's happening. And I think it's not a matter of if we'll get involved, but when. So I just thought it was important to talk about this because news happens and changes so quickly. And this is a huge, huge deal. And, like Angela, you have your hands full with what's happening here in America. And we can't take our eye off that. while around us chaos swirls. So it just feels like, because people are saying, oh, this is a distraction from what's happening domestically. And I don't know that this is a distraction. Like, this is something.
Their eyes are off the ball.
Right. It's not a distraction. This is something that requires our attention.
You know what,
and
Tiff?
it's a manipulative tactic. Yes.
I was just going to say on this point, this kind of happens for me every time we do this. I'm fine with domestic policy. I don't know why, but foreign policy has always, and I talk about it on the show, it's always been harder for me to like absorb and get it and follow all the players. So I'm sure there are folks at home that feel similarly. Mm-hmm. I'm glad when y'all do these, but I would be lying if I didn't say that part of me is feeling the angst of, but ICE is on our streets and they're trying to create, manufacture literally war on our own streets. So how do you tell people to carry both? Like, we can't afford not to carry both. What's the instruction or the directive that you would give to some of us who are battling? Well, this feels really present for me and it's right outside my door. It's impacting my neighbors. I'm hearing about kids being disappeared or their parents being disappeared. So they're stranded and holding on to teachers. As like this clip that Joy put up yesterday. So what do you tell folks that are like, I don't know if I could do both?
I get it. And I'm not asking anybody to do both. Just listening to us talk about it is enough, just so you're aware, because there's nothing that we can do on the global stage to stop anything. So if you can just be aware that this is happening. The closest example I can give is Game of Thrones, when all of the people were fighting, but the White Walkers were coming regardless. So y'all are fighting over who's going to sit on this Iron Throne. But out there in the atmosphere, the White Walkers are coming. So then collectively, y'all all had to get together to fight them. That's what it can feel like. And you can make the White Walkers climate change. You can make the White Walkers nuclear weapons, whatever it is.
What they are, the White Walkers. But so here's my question.
Well,
so how
Angela,
do we come together? Well, how do we come? I guess we're not coming together with the White Walkers, but how do we come together with people who are seeking our demise right now? How do we come together with people who are, at least it appears to be, acting like ICE even when they're not? We don't have any way to verify if these folks are actually law enforcement, which is what they've done since slavery. So how do we find ourselves coming together to prepare for an international onslaught of terror and violence when they are terrorizing us currently on these streets? What is the pathway for coming together so we can protect the homeland? What's the process for doing that?
I mean, Angela, first of all, thank you for raising it, because I know how true it is, the dissonance that we all feel. That's why it used to bother me so much when I would hear 13,000 troops killed in Afghanistan, right? Because I got a nephew who's in the Marines. And I have uncles who have served this country and an uncle who lost his life serving this country. So the dissidence actually isn't dissidence at all. The only reason why we can create separation is because we now have an all-voluntary military versus where all of us could be conscripted into service in this country. The end of the conscription allowed a lot of us to just turn our heads away from what was happening outside of our quote-unquote geographical boundaries. But our sons, our daughters, our cousins, our nieces and nephews and uncles, when they get sent abroad into these senseless wars, I remember Obama talking about, I have to be able to explain to a mother, a father, a sister, a brother, a daughter, a son, why I sent his father or mother to death, right? So it may be an expansion on the warfare that we're experiencing on the home front, but these international entrapments. I mean, I feel like that's the direction we're heading here with, as on the topic that we just raised. This is our children's future, literally those who are in service. And then secondarily, the amount of money that we're going to spend there. Imagine how much the United States Congress is going to try to claw back in domestic programming and programming to assist middle class and striving and working class families and poor kids. They're going to try and claw all that back because they let Netanyahu lead them by the nose into a war that cost us in treasure, but more importantly, cost us in lives. So I don't want the conscription back, but I would love for us to engage in these kinds of conversations and the full awareness that American bodies are on the line.
Yeah. And I just to back you up on that, Andrew, again, I'm not even asking people to do anything. I think if the only thing you do is listen to us and understand, oh, this is real serious. What's happening on the global stage, that's enough. Never in history have we been asked to consume so much information and care about it all. That's how we end up caring about nothing because it becomes too much. Yeah. I think right now, if you are focused on ISIS on these streets and they're coming in, masked men are, on behalf of the United States government, are disappearing people. We are looking again at state-sponsored violence that Black folks know all too well because we never had a reprieve from it. We never had any relief. Right. So when we see masked men, and I think we can't ignore the fact that a masked man showed up at two lawmakers' homes and attempted to kill them, was successful in the case of the former state house speaker and her husband, and was almost successful with a host of other people, not just the two people he shot, but he showed up at other people's homes with the intention of killing him. So you think about that, and then think about, and we also have masked men showing up to courtrooms, kidnapping people, showing up to people's homes, kidnapping them, stopping people on the streets, kidnapping them, showing them to their jobs, kidnapping them. How do I know that you are even entitled to? And they are arresting, which they do not have the right to do. They are arresting Democratic office holders, as we just saw this week in New York with the city comptroller who happens to be running for mayor. ICE does not have the authority to arrest United States citizens. When he said that, I had to look that up to make sure that's true. They don't have that authority. No. So we are looking at, if there is a through line, we're looking at a potential war with authoritarian regimes, while at home an authoritarian regime is taking over our country. Yeah, the irony and hypocrisy. Right, exactly. So everything is on fire. So my recommendation is get a bucket of water and throw it at whatever you can. It doesn't have to be Iran and the nukes. It don't have to be ICE. If it's just cleaning up your neighborhood, if it's just going to the school board meeting, making sure they don't cancel books or cancel history class or something, whatever you can do, because I don't even know how we stop this.
It matters
our good
to
friend
resist,
Sherilyn Ifill. Man. Yes. Sherilyn Ifill, who is, of course, the former head of the NAACP LDF, she acknowledged, I don't know that we can stop any of this. I don't have a path for it, but I know that we have to fight. And she said indifference is obedience in advance.
That's it.
And that just stuck with me.
It.
So if you might be able to kill me, but I promise you, I'm going to fight to the death before I just lay down and die in whatever capacity I can.
But that's what those people did this weekend, Tiff, all over the country.
Yeah.
They said, threaten me if you want. This is a democracy.
And all empires fall. I do feel like we're looking at the fall of an empire, but forward we march. I am so thrilled to be joined by these guests. We have Madam Gabrielle Wyatt, joined by Zaddy with a Z, Cornell Belcher. Yes. Because I see all that salt. It was salt and pepper, now it's more gray.
What did we just walk into, Andrew?
I mean, this thing drops at 11 a.m. My mother gets it.
I'm stating the obvious, what the viewers are going to say.
She's continuing the whole fair from 2 weeks ago.
Go on with it.
Oh, y'all right today.
Y'all don't know the Native Land had a whole bop out
it's after dark, apparently. NLP after dark.
Native Land after dark.
Uncut.
But on a serious note, these two teamed up and did an amazing poll on how Black women feel after the election. This is speaking right to my heart. I'm writing something on this right now, so I was really thrilled to look at the slides. And Angela had the great idea to have you both on together. Lauren, our executive producer, put these slides on our radar, and so I'm just really happy to have you both on the show today. And before we get started, this may be a little strange, but I'm looking at you, Gabrielle, and it is reminding me of someone we lost, but you have a striking, uncanny resemblance, you already know who I'm going to say probably, to Ananda Lewis. The resemblance is there. You obviously get that a lot because you're nodding, but you're beautiful. For the people who are listening, you're very beautiful. But yeah, I see that resemblance there.
I appreciate you. Thank you for bringing her into this space too.
Yes, R.I.P. to her. We love. She was such a beautiful person in all of our lives.
Are you going to say that I now look like Denzel?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say the obvious. What's understood doesn't need to be said.
I just want to know.
But can I say really quickly though, just on Denzel? We
devolved before we started, okay?
Well, because this is a good story.
Okay.
Denzel in the movie, he was playing like a terrorist.
Safe House.
Safe House.
Safe House, yeah.
And he was doing an interview. Cornell already knows the story. He was doing an interview and they asked him, who was your inspiration to play this crazy sociopath? And he said, Cornell Belcher. No, he said Cornell, but because he tried to do his hair like Cornell, so he like had his hair out in salt and pepper. He literally, Cornell was the influence for the look he had in that movie.
Cornell?
I know. Isn't that cool?
A psychopath,
Okay.
right? That's really cool.
I mean, you just
I wouldn't
real
say
energetic about your
psychopath.
work.
I might say sociopath.
Right.
We love Cornell. He is brilliant.
We
and
love
we have a lot of
Cornell.
data to get
Get into
into
this
in
data.
5 minutes
Yes.
because they got to go.
Yes.
But that was
Kick
a
us off,
15-minute
Angela.
intro. Okay.
I know, sorry.
No, it's fine. It's
I
fine.
can't be trusted anymore.
No,
It's now Angela.
I really can't. You know, I got ADD, so I was right with you. Okay. So I want you all to give us the top lines about this poll. Why this poll now? I think Black women are probably like, we know how we feel. But it's important, I think, in so many spaces where our voices are not lifted up and elevated, to bring attention to how we're feeling and how we're responding. Because it's not just a despondent, this is our feeling, this is where we're at. There's also a response happening. So talk about why this poll and why now.
Yeah, I can start, and Cornell, definitely jump in. You know, we teamed up beginning in 2021, and it's for the same reason that we said we were going to keep going this year, which was we know we are not listened to and centered in data. And that it's not just that we're not listened to, but our experiences aren't valued holistically nor equally compared to others. And as I think about this moment, many said, Gabrielle, Cornell, why are you going to do it again? We already know how we feel. And for me, it was important, one, in a time where so much erasure is happening, that we continue to build one of the largest archives of the experiences of Black women, and not just the day-to-day, but our dreams and aspirations. That's one of the most beautiful parts about this partnership with Cornell, and perhaps most unexpected for others to hear, is how many dreams we have heard over 2021. And you can first look at this year and say, there is no dreaming happening, Gabrielle. But when I see that Black women are continuing to name that the future is most important for little ones and we've got to figure this shit out, that is dreaming. That's evidence of dreaming. And I would say the second is the reminder to all of us here and listening of we are not a monolith. And that's why we had a responsibility to listen again this year and continue. And I hope the way I'm waking up this morning is I hope that as Black women read this data, as they hear other stories, that they remember they're not alone. And so I wake up every day primarily in rooms like this. Not every Black woman or girl does. And so I hope that when she reads this and sees that folks, their mental health is worse off, that she knows she's not alone in how she's feeling that day too.
I love that. Cornell?
I would say, well, first, I think we ought to give big ups to Gabrielle and what she's doing at the Highland Project, because she is making a space for women and their voices and their stories. And she's doing a remarkable job. And the importance of this is voice. Look, data for me is not just data; it is stories. It is people's voices. And Gabrielle, you'll remember from one, I think the comments we got back after we put out the data was a thank you, because from someone who says often I don't feel my voice is heard, or the voice of Black women aren't heard. Right. So this is telling Black women's stories, and we are demanding that these stories be heard and their voices be heard. And that's what this data is. So I hold data sort of sacred because it is people. There are people and voices behind this data. And look, there's not a lot of organizations out there, doing large sample sizes of just African American women, right? You all know this because you're all political hacks in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But in most of these national polls you get out, you may have 60 or 70 African-American women in there, right? So it's not a robust sample of African-American women, but sort of really focus on these African-American women. And look, and we're not, and the Highline Group Project is not partisan, but since the election, you do have a deep sense of from these women, and from the data, they literally say we feel like we're going backwards. And the economic angst is real. Look, in 2024, 40% of African-American women said that the economic conditions in the country are getting worse. Today, that's 87, right? It's near universally felt that by these African American women that the overall economy is getting worse, right? And in 2024 when we did this, we had just 37% of African American women saying they felt like they were falling behind their economic conditions. They were falling behind economically. Now you have a majority, 57% of African American women say that they are falling behind economically, right? So we have a tremendous shift of what's happening with African American women. And as Gabrielle talked about, right, we even delved into questions around mental health. And they talk about sort of how their mental health is worse off now, and how so many of them are pulling back even from news sources because, quite frankly, it makes them depressed. So we got to give voice to this.
I think that's so profound what you said, because this data feels like home to us, because these are the conversations that we're having at brunches and our group chats when we connect and convene, and certainly right here on Native Land Pod we've revisited this. Why the focus on Black women as opposed to Black men? And if you have done any of that kind of research, Cornell, which I imagine you have, is there a lot of daylight between us and our beloved counterparts and their outlook on the country?
Well, can we curse on this podcast?
Absolutely.
I'm so sick of this narrative about sort of trying to pit African American men versus African American women, right? If you look at the history of this, go back to Carter, right? You have roughly anywhere between 12 and 19% of African Americans voting Republican. So you had roughly 14% of African Americans voting Republican this past time around, and there's always a gender gap, right? Men vote more Republican than women do in every ethnic demographic group there is. You know who has the smallest difference between how their men and women vote?
Black folks.
Black men. The difference between how Black men and Black women vote is less than 5 points. That is the lowest that's the lowest there is. So this idea that somehow, Black men are behaving dramatically different than the Black women in their community, when we're both seeing the threats to our community and we're both frustrated with what's happening politically, I think is a narrative that I think is diabolical, and we've got to push back on it. I'm less worried about 13 or 14% of African American men voting Republican than I am the 40% who just are so discouraged by politics and that nothing changes, that they don't turn out. That's the difference between winning elections and losing elections, not between 2 or 3% difference between how Black men and Black women vote. It is the overwhelming lack of turnout that we've been seeing among younger voters and also voters of color, which quite frankly cost Harris the election a lot more so than this ideal that somehow we got to win back working class white people, non-college white people. By the way, a group that has not broken for Democrats in any real way in three or four decades. And you know what percentage of non-college white voters Harris got? She got the same percentage that Biden did on his way to winning, right? That's not the focus. We've got to energize, mobilize, and bring these people into the process.
It perpetuates a narrative that the working class is white.
Yes.
or that
there are Black
Americans.
working class folks. Right, exactly, Andrew. Sorry, I interrupted you. You go ahead.
No. I'm glad that Cornell, one of the things I reflect on when I think about the 2024 election is how many Black men actually felt proud to finally be able to be asked the question about what they thought and what they believed. And I think some of that started to then deepen sort of this, narrative that Black men are here and Black women are there. And I think that's one of the things that this study helps to kind of go directly to the point, which is you need to know what Black women think. And not just so that they can end up in your speech, but so that your public policy starts to reflect some of these concerns. And I wonder, who who should we want to be hearing from right now and quoting you all's brilliant work when it comes to the public policy agenda that is going to put progressive thinkers like myself back in charge? Because all I hear is an anti-Trump narrative, and I can't wait for the construction of, why don't we take our best assets, right? The folks who, when they're not with us, drag whoever the Democrat is at the helm, right? Their poll numbers shatter when Black women and Black men aren't there. So do you feel a sense of an early formation of that? What does the take back agenda look like for this country if it doesn't include hook, line, and sinker, which you all have identified here as the highest priority concerns that Black women are reflecting, which I would say also encompasses what Black men often think about?
I'm going to say this one thing,
security.
then I'm going to throw it to Gabrielle because I want Black women to talk more than Black men about this. But Black power starts with Black women. It just does, right? There is no Black power movement in this country without Black women being up front and making that happen, because they are the most likely, they're far more likely to vote. And that's what I tell any campaign.
Y'all cut that clip.
What I tell any campaign, and you know this from your even campaign, like if Black women galvanize around you, the community will follow, right? So first and foremost, for anyone out there, and I tell candidates all this time, you know, if Black women get behind you, the community will follow. And so I think that's so important to centralize this idea of Black power. I'm sorry, guys, but it does have to be centralized Black women, because they are voting in such higher numbers and turning out in so much higher numbers. And women, by the way, you're the majority. It's not us men. I'm sorry, Gabrielle, I'm going to stop talking now.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good. I'll listen to you, my brother. I would say that what's been on my mind is what Cornell didn't mention was, like, everyone is naming that this is an unfair and rigged system when we look at this data. And we know that that is true on the other side, not only for Black men, but my hunch is for the majority of Americans. And I share that because one of the reasons we started this journey was so many funders were saying to me that wealth is only about becoming a billionaire. And I said, that's not true. And I'm going to prove it. I'm going to prove it to you that wealth is more than currency. And when I look at the last 5 years, Black women have named an expansive vision of wealth. They said it's about choice. We want choice beyond a zero-sum game. We want financial freedom. We want belonging. And we want thriving health. And I'm naming those pieces because I think a lot of Americans, perhaps naively, I think this, want those four same things and are pointing to an unfair and rigged system as one of the leading causes. I think that in this moment, it's a mistake for any leader, regardless of politic, regardless of sector, to look at what we heard and think that Black women are showing up in the same way, because we heard that a majority of 55% of Black women are naming we have to fight for our rights and build a future. Yes, we are naming that, but we're building very differently. Right. And so I think I'm curious, Cornell and I were in a conversation last week where a sister of ours said, because I'm not putting money forward in a campaign in the same way that I did before. And so I'm naming that because I think a risk in looking at this information is that folks remain comfortable, that they make the assumption that Black women are showing up in the same way when they see that data point. And I think that would be a poor decision for anyone in their seat to make. Or
is there optimism out there? Do you have optimism that some folks are catching give us the early tea leaves of how the data's landed with the donor class and the leading class, who often, frankly, go to data to shape their framework of how to move forward?
I'm cautiously optimistic, and Cornell will give me a healthy dose of skepticism in a moment.
I won't make you.
I'll say I'm cautiously optimistic. I think that what feels different this year is that we can show scale. That we're showing scale in the lived experiences, and that we're freaking consistent as Black women. We're not all of a sudden naming that we're concerned about the future. We're not all of a sudden becoming folks who are about rooted in love, rooted in justice, rooted in fairness, right? And I'm naming that because in the world I sit in of watching philanthropy ping pong words around and strategies around right now, which is part of the reason why we're in this mess, is we, as long as Black women, have always taken an emergent view of the future. And so I think that's where I have cautious optimism, is that the funder class is seeing consistency that the same values are leading our work, seeing consistency that we are not just human beings who are survivors, but human beings who want to thrive and have stories of thriving, and we're going to get there.
I'm curious. There seems to be this narrative that, Black women, by extension, Black folks, we minding our business. That we are like wiping our hands. We're done with this place. It's anecdotal. We see that in comments on our respective social medias, and certainly in Native Land as a whole. I've seen maybe Black faces who might be less connected to the community regurgitate this narrative on air. And I'm curious, as I look at your data, it seems to poke holes in that theory. Can you talk to that?
This was one of our favorite co-collaborations of the last 5 years. Cornell and I wanted to unpack the meme of Black women sitting on the building, right, with the fire behind us.
Yes.
And so that's why we asked the question, right, of like, the world's on fire. Are you moving or are you resting? And so that's where we heard the majority of 55% are naming, no, we're focused on protection and building. But I think what's been unique in the community conversations we've had since releasing the data is the nuance behind what does it mean to continue to build. And so I hear every day the leaders that I serve name, I didn't react to immediately go to a protest this time because I'm actually saving my energy for this marathon of X, right? And so I think that the lesson learned and that our community holds sacred is that if Black women aren't sustained, our homes aren't sustained, our communities aren't sustained. And so when we say rest, I believe that in that 55%, women are also resting. But they're resting not from a definition of opting out. They're resting from, my coach said to me the other day, you rest so that your nervous system can actually make meaning and actually dream again and have the power again, the energy again to pursue change. And so I think it's nuanced when you go the layers beneath of the choices folks are making so that they can show up more wholly for the future they really believe in, instead of getting called to City Hall every day to stand outside with a sign.
Yeah. I
know y'all have a hard out, but I have, I'm sorry. Go, no, Cornell, please.
No, I was going to go really quickly because I want to reinforce what Gabrielle is saying there, but I also want to bring in that I'm suspicious of this narrative also. I'm suspicious of what's driving this narrative because I see it on social media all the time, and it is like Black people need to pull back and pull out and not be a part of the sort of process and political conversation, and we just need to let the world, move without us. Yes, we need rest, but also listen, no one on this stream right now would be here if our grandmothers or our great grandmothers said, you know what, we're going to pull back from the world because of racism or because of any of these isms. And certainly we all know that the Black community is the canary in the coal mine, right? We've generation upon generations of Black women and Black men who've had to fight and choose the lesser of two evils and navigate this landscape. And so I'm for rest, but I'm also a little suspicious of some of what's been happening with this narrative, because I think it's self-defeating and I think it plays in the hands of the enemies of our community. And the other sort of thing that's I think striking about this data is and Gabrielle backed me up, is like, well, 57% of African American women say that they experience racism often in their lives. That's just startling, and racism and discrimination is one of their top obstacles. They name as one of the top obstacles to getting ahead or freedom. So we're faced with, as we know, this existential racist threat from white nationalism right now. So I really question this idea of where some of this is coming from. This idea that, okay, we just got to pull back from the world right now. when the world, when white nationalism is on the march, it's kind of, we got to pull back from the world right now.
Right.
Yeah, and whose algorithms are keeping that feed going?
Right.
Exactly. That's right.
Who's in charge of that narrative being? But I know who is probably in charge of this color scheme of this poll, and I'm curious to know what inspired this ivy green and very blush pink. That's
This
the
is how
question of
far
the day.
Cornell and I have come, because we used to operate in his PowerPoints, and this year we're in Canva and launched. If you go to our Instagram, you'll see we actually have no graphs at all, but beautiful artwork that juxtaposes the grief with Black girl joy. So thank you for pointing that out.
I mean, I thought Vice President Kamala Harris would particularly appreciate the schematics here. But y'all are really honing in on some important work, and I hope that it continues to reverberate and lift and almost past donor class, because I'm kind of over it. I was in the pitching world for a very long time, and it made me sick that this room of aging, largely white liberals who were well intentioned, to the extent that toward their giving, but oftentimes took a very sort of we're the parent in the room approach to what's important, what isn't important, what elected is the right one, which one isn't. But that hopefully this data continues. And I know it to be true because I live with a Black woman who is at an organizational meeting practically every night, right? Doing something for an organization that builds her and our family and strengthens us and girds us up. So almost time out for the poobahs. Let the people accelerate this thing. And I appreciate y'all putting that narrative really front and center. Your voices, they don't decide that it matters. They matter because y'all matter, period. Enough said.
Love that. Well, we'll certainly make these slides available. They will definitely be referenced in what I'm writing. So I appreciate you both. And it's really a reunion here. We're so excited to welcome you into the fold, Gabby. But I also, all of us, Angela, Andrew, and I have either worked with or for Cornell.
If you do this zaddy thing again, I'm checking
I'm not going to
out.
do the zaddy thing. But I'm just saying we all have a relationship with Cornell.
Yes.
I worked for Cornell in the 2007 during the
He
Obama
elected
administration.
Obama.
Cornell was
Let me cut the tape. He elected Obama.
Yes, we
Cornell
can.
got Obama elected. But also, Andrew, you worked with Cornell on your campaign. Angela, you've worked with Cornell. So it's just nice to
Angela actually
reconnect with
brought me
everybody.
on to that campaign. This is how.
She brought a lot of people on.
This is how Black power, Black politics is supposed to work.
Yes. As a wise man on this podcast might say, you have to be nation.
You have to.
It is, sis. Welcome
So
home,
we are
y'all.
all nation. We are all nation. So thank you guys for doing this beautiful, insightful piece of work. May it spread wide. Like I said, it'll certainly be referenced here. And I'm going to personally pull some of these slides and explore them deeper. And we'll follow up with you all directly if I have any more questions, because this is great. But it's a great service you're providing to not just Black women, but people with an intellectual curiosity about their fellow countrymen. White folks, please tune in.
And anybody who want to win an election again. Jesus.
Right. Anybody who's running a campaign, it was sad that there were people who had to run a shadow operation on the Kamala Harris campaign to reach some of these demographics. And to your point, Andrew, this donor class that is largely white and male, it is time to be disrupted, as is the narrative that Black women are sitting home getting manicures while the world burns. None of that is true. The devil is a lie, as they say. So, yeah.
Welcome
so
home,
thank you
y'all.
guys for taking time out of your busy
Absolutely.
schedules joining us. This was great. And we look forward to welcoming you all both back soon. Welcome home, y'all.
Thank you all.
This doesn't have to be recorded, but I do think I agree with Cornell on, women have always sort of been forebearers in our community as it relates to sort of setting the tone. But it also disregards the structural ways in which men have been taken out. Where Black men were working, they were leading, they were assisting, they were partners, they were going through the ballot with their spouses and family members, and that threat, right, that then got diagnosed by the government and by white supremacists, then created a structure that systematically removed us from involvement.
Yes.
So that's not to take anything away. It's simply to say that reality exists, not only because, but also in part to the fact that Black men have been structurally leveled.
I think that's such a great point that you bring up. Their policies were an impediment to our partnership and our love in the 1970s when they essentially expelled Black men from the home. Particularly for impoverished Black women who needed support, right? Who needed support, who were oppressed, who had been laid off, who had been routinely victimized by this country. They said, okay, we'll give you a few coins, but you got to kick that man out the house. We cannot give you support. With the rise of the different movements, the Black Panther movement, where they jailed entire generations of thought leaders, thinkers, doers, activists, geniuses. Even in the 1980s, when the CIA morphed into Nino Brown and pumped drugs into our communities and destroyed our men. And in the 1990s, when they gave us mandatory minimum. So I hear you, and I know that Black men have been most certainly just disrespected, oppressed, murdered by the state, a bunch of things. So,
and those who survive it should be, like you actually are surviving something. You're surviving a set of structures, just as Black women are, structures that are dependent on your collapse. They're designed for our collapse.
Yeah.
Infuriating.
And even before that, because you're the father of two boys, even that, the idea of how we treat our, like, we started out young. We banish our boys to remedial classes who don't need to be there. And we, fund and fill this school to prison pipeline. So from prisons to pedagogy, we are setting some Black men up for failure. So we do not ever want to overlook that. But what I would say, though, to our beloved brothers out there is just because something is celebrating Black women, because we so often feel the least loved, it does not mean it's putting down Black men. Like, let us have our love. If we say something like, and I know you do all the time, Andrew, but there's a whole host of people out there who are so traumatized, who are in so much pain, who are so hurt, and they listen to these podcast bros and they ascribe to these very toxic belief systems. They feel entitled to women who, they have not earned, and it just creates for a toxic landscape of our love. And the only thing that gave us the tools to survive this 400 plus year nightmare was the love we have for each other. And right now, policies are disincentivizing that love. And so I think it's such a wise point that you brought up. And we have to acknowledge the political infrastructure that harmed us. We should maybe talk about this a little bit on the mini pod. I know we said leadership, but then we have love, and I kind of feel like these two intersect a bit. Sure. So let's get to CTAs, and just y'all be sure to tune into the mini pod that's going to drop on Friday, depending on when you listen. So yeah, let's get to CTAs, and then we'll pick this discussion up on the mini pod.
Hi guys, I'm back.
Let it rip, Rye.
I would love for you all to, if you watch this show on Juneteenth, by the way, happy Juneteenth week, Freedom Day week for all of us. We would love for you to join us in Baltimore. If you're not going to hear this in time, because Tiffany will be mad if I don't say that, you don't hear it in time, then please make sure that you log on to stateoftheppl.com and check out our more than 30 Black papers. Shout out to Dr. David Johns, who's run our Black Papers Policy Initiative. Y'all, I printed everything out. We're at 674 pages. And so take it in bite size. There's a reason why we release them 2x2 and 3x3. We want you to slowly look at them all. They're very digestible, written for an 8th grade reading level. But still, if you don't feel seen or heard, holla at us at hello@stateoftheppl.com. And speaking of hollering at us, my other call to action is we didn't have nary a listening question this week. And Tiff is going to say it's because we haven't been answering the listener questions. So I want y'all to send in your comments and your questions. And if you agree with me that you're trying to figure out how we going to handle what's going on domestically, so you a little foggy about international affairs, holla at me so I know I'm not by myself. That's on my CTAs.
and then say,
Love it.
I know why it's relevant. Or not, maybe. My CTA, y'all, is when we make a demand, let's follow it all the way through. Sometimes the conclusion to that demand might be, already decided, already declared. I know people who thought they knew the conclusion to some stories. And so they let their foot off the gas. You just never know what can happen if you are in this, and if, in case it's a mystery, FAMU is on my mind, our HBCUs are on my mind. They may be in the positions of power to do what they want to do at this time. But I want to underscore at this time, because so long as there is still time, there's still another battle to be waged. And I understand, I'm a respectable person. I understand respectability politics. But when the moment shifts in our communities and our country, like it has right now, I think our disposition has to shift as well. So I would just ask folks, instead of criticizing the people who are going hard for their demand, that if you make a demand, that you stand in that demand and you fight like hell to see it met. The damn, to be honest with you, with respectability.
All right. I love that. I had another call to action, but it's too long. So I think I might save it for the mini pod. And now I feel bad because the call to action I have left is pretty selfish because it's all about me. My call to action is my friend Jackie Reed. You guys remember Jackie Reed? She was like the first Black woman I saw doing news for us, by us. So I was a fan before she became a friend. But she is she never tells anyone her age. So I'm going to guess that Jackie's 35, even though that would make her 10 years younger than me. But she looks amazing, and she's into wellness, and she is a vegan. And so she has convinced me to try to go vegan. I have not done it yet. I'm inching my way there. We both love animals. And I've never been like a big meat eater anyway. So my call to action is words of encouragement, ideas for all of you all out there who are vegans, who have great vegan recipes. Like, how do you go through life without using any animal products, which I'm completely open to. The one thing I think I miss immensely, I would miss, is cheese. I love cheese. So like, what do you do if you go vegan? Just give me any thoughts and ideas y'all have of that vegan life. Cause I love seeing all these Black folks who are growing their own vegetables and these amazing recipes. Oyster mushrooms are so good. Like all the stuff y'all are doing. So put me on game. That's my CTA.
So long as it don't take you off finding our restaurants when we travel, I'm good. I support you.
I'm on it. I consider everybody's dietary preferences and restrictions. Yes, you do, friend.
Thank you.
So I am always happy to be in charge of food when we leave. Also, I'm trying to lose some weight. So but vegan doesn't mean you lose weight.
You do not.
You can still,
I was heavy on the carbs being vegan mostly. I gained weight.
See? Because fries, that's
and
vegan.
The protein is hard. The protein piece is hard. They try to make it seem like it's easy. Oh, you can use butterfly pea powder. You can do lentils.
I'm still eating what my mama raised me on.
I like lentils. I like lentils. I like chickpeas.
But you're not about to eat lentils and chickpeas every day, honey. It's not going to happen.
I'm not. This is true. But I do go weeks without fish. Mm-hmm. So I think I could give up fish. I just don't know what else. I don't miss meat at all. I don't know. I'm looking forward to y'all's thoughts. Anyway, this is why I need you all to tell a friend about this show, because I'm sure there are a whole lot of vegans out there who have not yet discovered Native Land Pod. So please put them on game so they can put me on game. So tell your friends, and for all y'all who do listen, please be sure, I know y'all listen, but make sure you subscribe, because that way you get these episodes already downloaded in those phones. And when you pick up that phone and text that man, you know you ain't got no business texting, and you see, oh, you know what, never mind, because it's a new episode of Native Land Pod, so I can listen to that instead of texting his dusty ass. You'll give me some encouragement in that area too.
You want to show, friend?
All the non-dusties, we see you, brother. We love you too. Keep your head up.
The non-dusties, we love you.
I said my Tupac voices. I'm in Baltimore. You know he's
welcome home, everybody. Baltimore. Welcome home.
I guess
new episodes of Native Land Pod drop every Thursday. Thank y'all for jumping right on it when it drops on Thursdays. And Fridays, you can catch our mini pod and solo pods on Monday and Tuesday. is every other Monday for some. I don't know. Just check and see, because Andrew and Angela.
I was trying to cut her.
The body has taken over.
I was trying to cut her.
But you can also I want y'all to check out other shows on Reason Choice Media. Check out my girl Jamel Hill's Politics. I love Jamel. I think she's like the coolest person. I want to be Jamel sometimes. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I want to talk about sports, and I want to be like cool walking through the sporting events.
You're a resident sports expert. What do you think about the series
right now? She knows a little
more
than me.
What you think about the NBA
series
finals? Mm-hmm.
First of all,
oh Lord,
I did not know that there was a team in Oklahoma City.
Really?
So this is until this year, because they weren't.
That Oklahoma City's in. You know who they're playing against?
They are playing against Dick Cheney's Halliburton, who plays for the Pacers, and that's how I remember. Because every time I hear Halliburton, I think of Dick Cheney. If you're not old enough, then Google it.
You know what, Tiff? Let me tell you about your sports expertise and why it matters.
I'm getting up there.
Welcome home, everybody. We thank you.
Have a way of connecting people to other dots that they need to know about outside of sports. So when they get your sports expertise, there's this broader experience that they have. And
you're generous with it. You're generous.
Y'all are welcome. Y'all are welcome.
When nobody asks. It's beautiful, generous. But I love that normally when I try to get Tiff with the gotcha question, she's ready. So the Pacers and OKC, you know who's ahead?
I do, but I don't want to ruin it for people who have it on DVR.
Oh, I see.
Because they might not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
well,
you're not watching live.
Maybe they can just bet on, you're a betting woman. Who you got in the series?
Who has more palms and who has more backhands?
Who y'all got down there? You got any bodies this week?
Some of y'all get it. I don't know. Whoever
is the show over?
Whoever got the cutest single daddies on the team.
The fact that you said single daddies has just aged us out of this conversation. Welcome home, y'all.
All right. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on social media and subscribe to our text or email list at nativeland.com. We are your hosts, Angela Wright, Tiffany Cross, and Andrew Gillum. Welcome home, y'all. There are 502 days until midterm elections. Thank you, Andrew, for talking through the whole
Okay, so I can't even welcome people
Welcome home, y'all.
I can't welcome people.
Thank you for joining the natives. Intentional with the info on all of the latest. Rod, Gillum, and Cross connected to the statements that you leave on our socials. Thank you sincerely for the patience. Reason for your choice is clear. We're so grateful. Took the oath to execute roles. Yeah, faithful. Preserve, defend, and protect the truth, even if painful. Welcome home to all of the natives. We thank you.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.